The UK jazz scene is home to some of the most insane drummers on the planet, but after having learned hundreds of UK jazz tunes and spent hundreds of hours teaching other drummers how to play them, the one thing that I've noticed that makes UK jazz drumming so impossible to play is not just how tech the grooves are, and they are tech, but just how many different genres the scene is influenced by, meaning you could be pulling phrasing from any style at any time. So today I'm going to break down a sick selection of UK jazz tunes so that you can get deep into the phrasing of a scene that could take you anywhere. And the first track we're going to look at is Curveball by Webb. And this is in a bit more of a classic bebop feel, but definitely pushing a bit more modern. The drummer on this track is called Sam Jesson, and he's an absolute beast, mate. So let's have a listen to the tune. Come on, mate. So obviously there's so much phrasing to take in, and the track is going to be improvised all the way through. So what we're going to do is look at one of my favorite comping phrases that's played in the album version that sounds like this. Right, this one's going to be a challenge, so let's have a look at the notation. So really the way that I'm thinking of this phrase is that it goes over 3 quarter notes, so a group of 3 but played in 4/4. So if we look at the second bar here, we can see our group of 3 really clearly. So the rhythm is really a shuffle, 1, a 2, a 3, a. And then it's the voicings that make it a bit more of a challenge. So you got ride by itself, hi-hat foot, snare and ride, snare by itself, ride and kick. So first thing, without any kind of form or structure, I would just have a go at playing that 3-beat phrase a few times. Once you got it down, your next challenge is to put on a click in 4/4 and have a go at just playing this phrase over and over again. And what you'll notice is that it's going to go over the bar line. So this is a challenge when it comes to actually hearing whereabouts you are in the bar and making sure you don't get lost in the forms. I tapped out the tune around 110-ish BPM, so that's the tempo that we'll play at, and see if you can hear where the bar line is, even though the phrasing is going to go over the bar. So the phrase by itself is difficult enough, but now that we put it into 4/4, all of a sudden, it's as much an exercise for your ears as it is actually physically to play it. So if we look at the exact phrase from the tune, in the first bar, you're going to play your kick and ride on beat 1, your snare and ride on beat 3, and then the remaining part of the standard jazz ride cymbal pattern on beat 4. This sets you up to go into the phrase starting on that second bar, and then you continue playing the phrase over the bar line, finishing off with this little phrase that ends on beat 2 of bar 5. You can think of that little phrase on beat 2 as almost like a full stop, as a way of finishing off the phrase and then going back into your improvisation. So let's have a listen to how that whole phrase sounds together. Sick. And then if you want to push it further, I would definitely recommend have a go at improvising, play whatever standard jazz phrasing you typically find yourself playing, and every so often just have a go at dropping the phrasing in there. Such a beast, mate. And by the way, you can grab all the notation from today's video for free by hitting the link in the video description. You'll also find a link to the Drum Hub online membership, where I've just completed the UK Jazz course. And the whole structure of the course is that each chapter is focused on UK jazz influenced by a different genre. So whether that's fusion, hip hop, breakbeat, bebop, electronic music, Afrobeat, and then we pull out the individual phrases, create our own grooves from the phrases, and then finally improvise with those phrases. So it's really a way of bridging the gap between learning the grooves of your favorite drummers and taking influence from them to really make the phrases your own. The final chapter also finishes off in a tracking challenge where you get the opportunity to record your own drum part to a backing track and send it in for feedback. So if you want to level up your UK jazz drumming skills and that sounds up your street, feel free to check that out. Now, the next tune we're going to look at, rather than being influenced directly by bebop, Instead, this one's got a bit more of a fusion feel, especially if we're thinking about the overall sound of the music, and the drums are definitely pulling from that kind of fusion funk crossover. So you can think about drummers like Mike Clark or more modern drummers like Yusef Days. Now this track is by Yoni Mayraz. It's got a drummer called Zoe Pascal on drums who's absolutely amazing. The track's called Rooftops, and I know you're gonna dig this one, so check out how it sounds. So much feel, mate. That drummer is too slick. So if we take a look at the notation, the first step is we want to get comfortable playing this first bar here. This is really the foundation for the feel. So rather than a backbeat, actually you're going to play your snare accent on the and a beat 2 and then the downbeat of 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we've got a really syncopated kick pattern. So you got a kick on beat 1, the of beat 1, and then the E of beat 2, and then it's the E and the and of beat 3. Boom, boom, ba-gap, ba-boom, gap. Boom, boom, ba-gap, ba-boom, gap. And then a couple of challenges to watch out for. Firstly, there's a lot of ghost notes in there. So for the most part, you can fill in every single ghost note, but I think really it's going to be improvised and played slightly different every single time. Sometimes snare drums like this one here on the of beat 2 are also played a bit more accented, lining up with some of the phrasing played by the other musicians. So definitely say have a listen to the whole track so that you can lock in with the overall feel. And then on the third beat of the bar, on the E, you're going to play your left hand and your right foot at the same time, followed by an open hi-hat and kick straight after. So we just want to make sure that there's no flams in there and everything's played nice and in unison. So if I just play that groove for you at a slow tempo, it's going to sound like this. Not too bad so far, right? But now if we look at the full notation, what you'll see is that bar 1, bar 3, and bar 4 are very similar. On bar 3, it's the same kind of feel, but you just have a little buzz stroke played on the last 16th note. But then it's really the second bar that's going to be your challenge. So the time signature is going to change from 4/4 to 9/8. So basically, we're just adding in one extra 8th note in the bar. And these open hi-hats here are played at the same time as the big hits played by the other musicians. So the way that I think of this phrasing is really on the first 2 beats, you're playing a double stroke roll between your kick and your snare drum. On the third beat, you're going to play a single stroke roll, but double up the first right hand with a kick, and just make sure that you accent the snare on the E. So by itself, those 3 beats would sound like this. And then to lock in with the hits, we're just going to tag on right, left, left, right, left, left, all in 16th notes. Most likely you're going to ghost note the left hand here, but again, all the dynamics here are written out as more of a general guide than they have to be played this way. So when we piece those 2 parts together, that gives us the full bar of 9/8. And what I'd recommend doing is play that full bar of 9 plus beat 1 of the next bar. That beat 1 is just going to help to give it context, and it's also the last note of the hits played by the other musicians. Sick. Now as a standalone groove, it's hard enough, but now the challenge comes to sandwich that in between the other bars of 4/4. So you've got 1 bar of 4, 1 bar of 9/8, and then 2 bars of 4/4, and then the whole phrase repeats. Yes, mate. So experiment with the dynamics, play along with the track, and try and keep it super relaxed to try and lock in with Zoe Pascal's Pocket, which is absolutely no easy task. Now, we really can't talk about this tune without also looking at this variation. Now, although super tech when you're playing it at that kind of tempo, when you slow it down and you break down what's actually happening, the overall concept is more simple than it might seem. Of course, simple doesn't mean easy to play. So really, you're going to play paradiddle diddles between the ride cymbal and the snare drum in 30-second notes. So you'll play 2 paradiddle diddles in a row, and then to resolve the phrase, you've got this little double stroke roll at the end. I wasn't 100% sure what sticking he was playing at the end. It's kind of hard to catch it. So I'm playing just standard doubles, right, right, left, left, but he could maybe even be playing inverted doubles, or if he's an absolute maniac, he might even be playing right, left, left, left. But have a listen to the tune and see what you think. But anyway, for today, I'm just gonna play a double stroke roll, right, right, left, left. So it's difficult enough at a slow tempo, but now your challenge is to have a go at bumping up the tempo to the speed of the track. Now, if this is too fast for you to start with, don't worry about that at all. Just keep practicing your paradiddle diddles and gradually bump up the speed until you're able to play at the tempo. But if you're feeling good to go, then let's give it a blast. So sick. That groove is a bit of a beast. So far, we've looked at a groove influenced by bebop. We've also looked at a groove with a bit of a crossover between kind of fusion and funk playing. Now, the next track we're going to look at is influenced by electronic music and breakbeat. The tune is Go Go Penguin Fallow Field Loops with John Scott on drums. So much going on in there and such a sick feel. And like the other tunes, this one is definitely improvised. So every bar throughout the whole song is going to be a little different. But what I've done is written out the first 4 bars from when the tune properly kicks in on the album version. Now, a quick glance over, it looks really similar to a lot of breakbeat grooves. Then a few challenges, there's a lot of displacements and pushing snare accents over. And then you'll also notice that we've got these crosses written above the line here. As I noticed, it sounds like he's playing a few different types of hi-hats. So I've set up a little pair of mini hats and I've notated it with this symbol, but of course, you don't need any extra hi-hats to play this. You can just play it all on your standard hats. So what we'll do is we'll break this one down 1 bar at a time, and then we'll piece it all together. So in the first bar, you're gonna count 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and, starting on the ride and watching out for this little mini hi-hat here. And then you've got your snare accents on the downbeat of 2 and the and of 3. Now, one of the biggest challenges with this groove are the ghost notes going directly before the accents and the ghost notes going directly after the accents. In this case, we've got a ghost note going before the accent on the E of beat 3, and then an extra cheeky ghost note on the E of beat 4. In the second bar, we're filling in pretty much every single 16th note, and this time the snare accents go on the and of beat 2 and the downbeat of 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The kicks are going to go on the downbeat and the and of 1, the E of beat 2 and then the E of 4. So altogether, your kick and snare accents will sound like this. Boom, boom, ba-gap. Gaboom. And then things to watch out for are the little group of 3 on the hi-hat here, which feels quite awkward going over the top of those kicks and snares. And then the sticking in the second half of the bar, which is right, left, left, kick, right. Playing the first right hand on the standard hats and the rest on the mini hats. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. In the third bar, you're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 E and. Snare accents are going to go on the downbeat of 2, downbeat of 3 and the and of 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Kick on beat 1, and then you're playing off beats on the hi-hat in the first half of the bar. First one on the mini hats, second one on your normal hats. A little drag on the downbeat of 3, just making sure to ghost the snares on the and the E here. And then the final bar, you're going to count 1 E and 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and. Snare accents on the and of beat 3 and then the downbeat of 4. So you want to internalize that feel. Ticka boom boom gap, boom gap, ticka boom boom gap, boom gap. Little areas to watch out for. Firstly, just making sure you ghost all of these snare drums. And then again, you've got these little groups of 3 played on the hi-hat. The first one is 2 E and and the last one is going to go 3 and a 4. So again, that's quite challenging coordination between your right hand, your kick, and your snare. So let's have a listen to that bar. And then, as you'd expect, our challenge now is to piece the whole 4-bar phrase together. I'll firstly play it for you slow without a click, and then I'll chuck on the metronome and play it at the tempo of the track. Smashed it, mate. So far, we've looked at UK jazz influenced by bebop, influenced by fusion and funk, and also influenced by electronic music and breakbeat. But it wouldn't be a UK jazz drum lesson, especially not as I live in London, without also looking at a tune influenced by Afrobeat. So this time, we're gonna learn Kokoroko Adwa with Io Salawu on drums. Such a sick tune, mate, and honestly, this style of playing is a little outside of my wheelhouse, so what you might find is that we're able to talk about the theory and break the groove down pretty quickly, but actually getting the coordination to be able to play it might take a little bit of getting used to if you haven't played so much Afrobeat before. Now, what I'd honestly recommend doing is stripping out all the kicks and snares from the groove and just getting comfortable with the overall hi-hat pattern, which is mostly groups of 2 played on the and the of every beat. So from the beginning, you're gonna play 1, and a, 1, and a 1. And then you can open the first hi-hat and leave all the rest closed. Once you got that down, the next thing I'd recommend is to add in your bass drum. So now your kick is going to be played on the downbeat and the of beat 1 and the and a 3. And then the final challenge is to add in your cross stick. This is really where the groove starts to get a little bit trickier. So much like the hi-hat, our cross stick is playing these little groups of 2. The first group of 2 is going to be played on the and the of beat 2, so doubling up with your hats. And then the second group of 2 goes on the downbeat and the E of 4. So this creates a little double stroke roll. And the challenge with this is that leads straight into one more right hand on the downbeat of 1. So really, you're playing left, left, right, right, right. Now this groove may look simple written down, but don't underestimate the coordination that it takes to keep that hi-hat pattern consistent and not let muscle memory take over and start to play extra hi-hats on the downbeat. So let's have a listen to how it all sounds together. Come on, mate, tell me you don't love the UK jazz scene. There's so much going on in there, so many sick phrases, and so much to take inspiration from. And if you think about it, the term UK jazz is really just coined by journalists so they could write about it. But actually, the scene is loads of different musicians all playing together and putting out tunes that best represent them, which is why the genres that influence the scene are so wide and so broad. So although it makes it challenging to get stuck into the phrasing, it's also super inspiring, and it means that if you put out your own tunes, you can also put your own stamp on the scene. And that includes if you're not from the UK, because really if you think about it, what we're playing here is just modern fusion. Now, if this is your first time digging into this style of drumming and you're looking for more tunes to get stuck into, firstly, feel free to check out the UK Jazz course inside of the Drum Hub membership. There's a 7-day free trial, so you can check it out totally for free and see if it's for you. Or you could check out this video here where we break down even more sick grooves from the scene, and I'll catch you over there.